Cooking for one wasn't always about convenience. It was about survival, routine, and dignity. Long before delivery apps and frozen dinners, seniors living alone relied on simple meals they could make fast, cheap, and without waste. These weren't flashy recipes. They were quiet solutions. 10-minute dinners built from habit, memory, and whatever was already in the pantry. In small kitchens across America, these meals filled plates night after night. A single pot. One pan. No leftovers going bad. No ingredients going unused. Just enough food to get through the evening and feel cared for, even when no one else was around. Today, many of these dinners have disappeared, replaced by boxed shortcuts and microwave trays. But they worked, and they worked well. In this video, we're bringing back 10 vintage 10-minute dinners made for seniors living alone. Cheap, practical, and rooted in another time, when cooking for yourself was an act of independence, not loneliness. Let's step back into those kitchens and remember how simple dinner used to be. Creamed chipped beef on toast. Before microwaves hummed in every kitchen, one of the most reliable 10-minute dinners for seniors living alone was creamed chipped beef on toast. It wasn't fancy, and it was never meant to be. It came from military mess halls, boarding houses, and tight post-war budgets, where speed and thrift mattered more than pride. This dish worked because it asked for almost nothing. A small pan, a bit of butter, a spoon of flour, milk warmed slowly, dried beef rinsed to remove excess salt, then torn by hand. In less than 10 minutes, it turned into something hot, filling, and dependable. For seniors cooking alone, creamed chipped beef solved a quiet problem. It made one portion easily. It didn't spoil fast. The ingredients lasted weeks in a cupboard or icebox. And when poured over toast, it stretched just enough to feel like a full meal, not a snack pretending to be dinner. More than nutrition, it carried familiarity. Many older Americans first ate this meal during wartime or early marriage, when money was tight and routines mattered. Making it again years later wasn't about nostalgia, it was muscle memory. The hands remembered even when the world outside changed. By the 1970s, this dinner slowly faded. Toast felt old-fashioned. Cream sauces were called unhealthy. Convenience foods promised better answers. But for decades, creamed chipped beef did exactly what it was supposed to do. It fed one person quickly, cheaply, and without waste. Tonight's plate wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about sitting down, alone but steady, with something warm made by your own hands. And for many seniors, that was more than enough. It was dinner stripped to its essentials, built for quiet evenings, fixed routines, and the simple reassurance that tomorrow could still be managed without help, hurry, or unnecessary complication at home. Fried egg sandwich. For seniors living alone, few dinners were faster or more dependable than a fried egg sandwich. It wasn't a breakfast leftover. It was an evening solution. When the day ran long and energy ran low, this meal answered the question of dinner in under 10 minutes. The ingredients were almost always on hand. Bread that could be toasted or left soft. 1 or 2 eggs. A pat of butter or a swipe of bacon grease saved in a tin by the stove. That was enough. The pan warmed, the egg cracked, and dinner was already halfway done. This sandwich mattered because it respected limits. No chopping. No measuring. No standing for long stretches. Seniors could cook it slowly at their own pace, without risk or strain. And when eaten with a simple side, maybe canned tomatoes or a few pickle slices, it felt complete. Eggs carried meaning too. They were affordable protein during the Depression and wartime rationing, trusted for their nourishment and versatility. Many older Americans had grown up eating eggs for supper when meat was scarce. That habit never really left. By the time convenience foods flooded grocery stores, the fried egg sandwich began to disappear from dinner tables. It looked too plain, too quiet, but its simplicity was its strength. It didn't ask for attention or effort, only familiarity. For someone eating alone, the sandwich also avoided waste. 1 egg, 2 slices of bread, Nothing left behind. No container to store. No pressure to eat the same meal again tomorrow. The fried egg sandwich wasn't about comfort food trends or modern nutrition rules. It was about getting through the evening with something warm and filling. A small ritual that said dinner could still be handled, even on tired nights, without fuss, expense, or outside help. Tomato soup with crackers. For seniors living alone, tomato soup was more than a side. It was dinner. Especially on quiet evenings, when standing too long felt unnecessary, a single pot of soup offered warmth, comfort, and control. It was one of the fastest meals a person could make without feeling like they had skipped dinner entirely. Canned tomato soup became common in American kitchens by the early 20th century, prized for its long shelf life and low cost. Seniors trusted it because it was predictable. The taste never changed. The instructions never failed. Open the can, add milk or water, heat slowly, and stir. In less than 10 minutes, dinner was ready. Crackers completed the meal. Saltines were cheap, dry, and endlessly reliable. They didn't spoil quickly and required no preparation. Crushed into the soup or eaten alongside, they added just enough substance to turn a simple bowl into something filling. This dinner fit the rhythms of solitary living. One bowl. One spoon. No leftovers demanding attention tomorrow. No cleanup beyond a pot and a cup. For seniors managing energy, mobility, or limited appetite, that mattered. There was comfort in the ritual too. Many older Americans remembered being served tomato soup during childhood illnesses or hard winters, when meat was scarce and kitchens were cold. Making it again later in life carried that same sense of care, even when no one else was around. As food culture changed, soup was pushed aside as incomplete or childish. But for decades, it quietly did its job. It fed people who needed something gentle, affordable, and fast. Tomato soup with crackers wasn't about excitement. It was about reassurance. A warm bowl on a quiet night eaten slowly, reminding seniors that dinner didn't need to be complicated to be enough. Tuna on toast. For seniors living alone, tuna on toast was a dependable standby, quick to prepare, inexpensive, and easy to portion for one person. Long before deli counters and pre-made meals, a single can of tuna solved dinner without complication. Canned tuna became a household staple in the early 20th century, especially during the Depression and wartime years. It was shelf-stable, affordable, and seen as a respectable substitute for fresh meat. Seniors trusted it because it waited patiently in the cupboard, ready whenever energy or money ran low. Preparing tuna on toast took less than 10 minutes. The can was opened, drained, and mixed with a little mayonnaise or a splash of milk. Sometimes chopped onion or pickle was added, but often it stayed simple. Spoon it onto warm toast and dinner was finished. This meal worked well for solitary living. One can made exactly enough. There were no leftovers to refrigerate or forget. Cleanup was minimal. The textures were soft and easy to eat, which mattered as people aged. Beyond convenience, tuna on toast carried familiarity. Many older Americans had eaten it during lean years at lunch counters, church suppers, or at home when meat prices climbed. It was never flashy, but it was filling and dependable. As eating habits shifted, this dinner slowly fell out of favor. It was labeled boring or old-fashioned. But its quiet efficiency was its strength. Tuna on toast fed people without waste, hurry, or excess. For seniors living alone, it offered more than nutrition. It offered control. A meal that could be made anytime, at any pace, with ingredients already on hand. Simple, warm, and practical, it proved that dinner didn't need variety or complexity, just reliability and enough to get through the night. Baked potato with butter. For seniors living alone, the baked potato was one of the simplest dinners that still felt complete. It required almost no preparation, no measuring, and no constant attention. Once it went into the oven, dinner quietly took care of itself. Potatoes were a cornerstone of American kitchens long before modern convenience foods arrived. They were cheap, filling, and dependable. Seniors trusted them because they stored well and could be cooked one at a time without waste. A single potato was enough for dinner, especially when energy was limited. The process was slow but easy. Wash the potato, pierce the skin, and place it in the oven. While it baked, the kitchen stayed calm. No frying, no stirring. When it was ready, the skin split open, steam rose, and butter melted into the center. That was the meal. Sometimes salt was enough. Sometimes a spoon of leftover beans, canned vegetables, or a bit of cheese was added. But often, butter alone did the job. It added richness and comfort without extra steps. For seniors eating alone, the baked potato offered something important: flexibility. It could be eaten early or late. It could be finished all at once or slowly. There were no leftovers demanding attention tomorrow. This dinner carried memory. Many older Americans had grown up with potatoes as a daily staple, eaten during hard winters and tight budgets. Baking one for supper later in life felt familiar, not lonely. As faster cooking methods took over, the baked potato lost its place as a main meal. But for decades, it worked exactly as intended. Quiet, affordable, and filling, it reminded seniors that dinner could still be warm, simple, and managed on their own terms. Grilled cheese sandwich. For seniors living alone, the grilled cheese sandwich was a reliable dinner that asked very little but delivered comfort every time. It was fast, familiar, and forgiving, perfect for evenings when cooking felt like more effort than it was worth. Bread and cheese were staples in American homes for decades. Both were affordable, easy to store, and simple to portion. For someone cooking alone, that mattered. 2 slices of bread. 1 or 2 slices of cheese. Nothing extra. Nothing wasted. The method never changed. Butter the bread, heat the pan, and cook slowly until the outside turned golden and the cheese softened inside. No timer needed. Seniors cooked it by sight and sound, listening for the quiet sizzle that meant dinner was nearly ready. This sandwich became popular during the Great Depression, when meat was expensive and households relied on dairy and bread for calories. Many older Americans remembered eating grilled cheese as a full meal, sometimes paired with soup, sometimes eaten on its own. That habit stayed with them. For seniors living alone, grilled cheese offered more than nutrition. It offered independence. It could be cooked safely in minutes and eaten hot without delay. The soft texture made it easy to chew, and the warmth made it satisfying without feeling heavy. As frozen meals and takeout replaced home cooking, the grilled cheese sandwich began to seem childish or incomplete. But for decades, it quietly fed people who needed something fast and dependable. This dinner wasn't about trends or variety. It was about certainty, knowing that no matter how the day went, you could still make something warm with your own hands. For many seniors, that small ability meant more than the meal itself. Canned beans and wieners. For seniors living alone, canned beans and wieners was a dinner built for nights when effort needed to stay minimal. It required no planning, no fresh ingredients, and almost no preparation. Everything came from the shelf, ready when it was needed. Canned baked beans became popular in American homes in the early 20th century, valued for their long storage life and low cost. Paired with hot dogs or small sausages, they formed a complete meal that could be heated in a single pot. Seniors trusted this combination because it never surprised them. Preparation was simple. Open the can, slice the wieners, and warm everything together. In less than 10 minutes, dinner was finished. No seasoning was required. The beans already carried sweetness and salt, while the wieners added protein and texture. This meal worked especially well for solitary living. One can made enough for a single serving. There were no complicated leftovers to manage. Cleanup was quick, and the pot could be rinsed immediately. Beyond convenience, beans and wieners carried familiarity. Many older Americans had eaten it as children during tight economic times, when inexpensive canned foods kept families fed. Making it again later in life felt practical, not indulgent. As food culture shifted, this dinner was dismissed as childish or unsophisticated. But for decades it served a clear purpose. It fed people cheaply, quickly, and without waste. For seniors living alone, canned beans and wieners offered reassurance. It was warm, filling, and predictable. A meal that could be made on tired evenings without stress, reminding them that dinner didn't need planning or perfection, just something hot and reliable to carry them through the night. Cottage cheese and fruit. For seniors living alone, cottage cheese and fruit was a quiet dinner that required no cooking at all. On evenings when standing at the stove felt unnecessary, this meal offered nourishment without heat, noise, or effort. It came together in minutes and left nothing behind. Cottage cheese rose in popularity in mid-century America, praised as affordable, light, and easy to digest. Seniors trusted it because it was soft, filling, and gentle. Paired with canned or fresh fruit, it became a complete supper that felt intentional rather than skipped. Preparation was simple. Scoop cottage cheese into a bowl. Add sliced peaches, pears, pineapple, or whatever fruit was available. Canned fruit was common because it stored well and didn't spoil quickly. No measuring. No seasoning. Dinner was ready. This meal fit perfectly into solitary routines. One bowl. One spoon. No pans to scrub. No leftovers demanding refrigeration. For seniors managing energy or appetite, that simplicity mattered. Cottage cheese and fruit also carried the influence of post-war nutrition trends, when lighter dinners were encouraged, especially for older adults. Many seniors adopted this meal in their later years, appreciating how it satisfied hunger without feeling heavy. As time passed, this dinner was overshadowed by packaged diet foods and frozen options. But for decades, it quietly met a real need. It was affordable, dependable, and easy to prepare at any hour. For seniors living alone, cottage cheese and fruit offered calm. It turned dinner into a moment of care rather than a chore. No heat, no hurry, just a simple bowl that proved a meal could still be complete, even when made quietly, without ceremony or company. Macaroni and cheese from scratch. For seniors living alone, macaroni and cheese from scratch was a dinner that combined comfort, speed, and affordability. Unlike the boxed varieties that would later dominate grocery shelves, this version required just a few simple ingredients: pasta, milk, butter, and cheese, but delivered warmth and satisfaction in under 10 minutes. The key was efficiency. Small portions of pasta boiled in a single pot. A splash of milk and a pat of butter turned into a quick sauce when melted together. Grated cheese stirred in at the end created a creamy, filling meal. It was flexible, sometimes a pinch of salt, a dash of pepper, or a spoon of leftover vegetables added flavor, but often the basics were enough. This dish worked beautifully for solitary living. One serving filled a small bowl or plate, and there was rarely waste. Cleanup was minimal: one pot, one spoon. It was practical without feeling like a compromise. Macaroni and cheese also carried a sense of nostalgia. Many older Americans first learned it during their childhood, when convenience and affordability mattered as much as taste. The act of cooking it later in life rekindled those quiet kitchen memories, turning a simple meal into something comforting and familiar. Despite its simplicity, macaroni and cheese was nourishing. Carbohydrates and protein combined in one dish, giving seniors a balanced meal that didn't require multiple pots or complicated preparation. Over time, boxed versions replaced the scratch method, promising speed but sacrificing texture and personal touch. But for decades, homemade macaroni and cheese quietly sustained people who valued independence and efficiency in the kitchen. For seniors living alone, this dish was more than food, it was reassurance. It proved that even with minimal ingredients and energy, a warm, satisfying meal could be ready in minutes. It was independence served on a plate, with nothing wasted and nothing rushed. Open-faced sardine sandwich. For seniors living alone, the open-faced sardine sandwich was one of those dinners that demanded almost nothing yet offered everything they needed: protein, flavor, and simplicity. It wasn't glamorous, but it was practical, a meal that could be assembled in minutes without heating or fuss. Canned sardines were a pantry staple for much of the 20th century. Affordable, long-lasting, and nutrient-rich, they were especially useful for older Americans on fixed incomes. Paired with a single slice of bread, they transformed a humble ingredient into a complete, satisfying dinner. Preparation was minimal. Toast the bread lightly if desired. Open the can of sardines, remove any bones if needed, and place the fish directly on the slice. A touch of butter or a squeeze of lemon added flavor, but it could be eaten straight from the can. For some, a few thin slices of onion or tomato completed the meal, but even plain, it was enough. This dinner suited solitary living perfectly. One slice of bread and a few sardines meant no leftovers to store, no multiple pots to clean, and no complex cooking. It respected limited energy, mobility, and appetite while still feeling intentional. Beyond practicality, sardines carried a legacy. Many seniors remembered eating them during hard times, Depression-era kitchens, rationed pantries, or quick suppers after long days. Recreating this meal later in life wasn't about nostalgia alone, it was about maintaining independence and control over dinner. As convenience foods and takeout became widespread, the open-faced sardine sandwich faded from tables. It was seen as old-fashioned, even unappealing to younger generations. Yet for decades, it quietly did its job, providing warmth, nutrition, and ease. For seniors living alone, this simple dinner offered reassurance. A warm kitchen wasn't necessary. A long prep wasn't required. One slice of bread, a few sardines, and a moment to sit down, enough to nourish body and spirit alike, proving that sometimes the simplest meals were the most enduring.